Hello dear English lovers, welcome back. Si es la primera vez que visitas mi canal, te invito a suscribirte y a pulsar la campanita de las notificaciones. En esta ocasión cuentas con subtítulos para practicar tu comprensión auditiva. In today's video, I'm interviewing Ellie Speck. She's a North American professor and my Spanish student. She holds a master's degree in English literature and she will be telling us about her experience living in Colombia some years ago. Hello Ellie, how are you doing today?
Hi Judy, I'm good. How are you?
Pretty fine, thanks. First of all, where are you from and where are you living now?
I'm from a city called Youngstown, Ohio in the United States. That's where I grew up. And now I live in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, which is about an hour away from Youngstown.
Can you tell us when or what year you lived in Colombia?
I lived in Colombia for about a year, from 2017 to 2018.
What city?
I lived in Bucaramanga.
Why did you choose that one in particular?
Well, to be honest with you, I first applied for a job in Bogotá because I didn't really know much about the different cities in Colombia, and I just knew Bogotá was a big city and I might have an easier time finding a job there. But after I applied for the job, my former boss sent me an email and said, "How would you like to work in Bucaramanga?" And I said, "Okay." It was all the same company.
Okay. As soon as you arrived in this country, what was the first impression you got from this new land?
My very, very first impression when I arrived in Bogotá, because I spent the first 10 days or so there, was that the traffic is terrifying.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I had never seen anything like that in my life.
Really?
That kind of traffic.
Do you think we have the same traffic issue here in Bucaramanga?
Well, the traffic is still very busy, and to me, I felt like I would be scared to drive in Bucaramanga still. Because it's very different than here in the United States, especially where I live, because I've never lived in a big city, so I'm not used to the traffic of a big city.
Okay. So you think that Bucaramanga can be classified as a big city?
To me, it was the biggest city I ever lived in.
Oh, for real? Many people here say that this is not a big city. I'd like to know what aspects you find especially challenging when you were adapting to your new lifestyle, for example, weather, food, people, language, job, housing. Tell us a little bit about each one of them.
Okay. Well, to me, the most difficult when I arrived was the housing. It was very difficult for us to find housing at first, because I think for most of the rental companies, you have to live there or have work history for at least a few months. So we had to find a private person to rent an apartment from. And that was really difficult, because when I arrived, my Spanish was very, very basic. So it was really hard to do all the paperwork and find all the things that I needed to get situated there.
I can imagine, yes.
There's a lot of paperwork in Colombia, I found.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It's so sad. What about the food? Did you have any problems with the food?
The food to me was one of the best parts of Colombia. I love the food.
Really?
Yeah.
What dish in particular did you like the most?
Well, to me, I really liked I don't know, like the small foods like empanadas, and I really liked arepas de chocolo.
Choclo. Sí.
And like yuca.
Mm.
Um,
And don't you have that in your town?
no, not really.
Not really.
No. I have to go to a Colombian restaurant, and there's nothing like very nearby.
Okay. Now, okay, next question.
Mhm.
Is there anything you found particularly unusual or odd?
I think when we first arrived, one thing that was very different for me was that here the main meal is dinner usually, and in Colombia it's lunch is the big meal. It seems like, for example, my husband and I tried to find a restaurant for dinner one of the first weeks that we were there, and we had to walk around for a long time looking for a place that was open. I know there are some places, but like during lunchtime, you walk for a few minutes and go past 10 restaurants that are serving lunch, you know, so that was a little bit different for me. Just the whole, like in the whole 2-hour break in the middle of the day, that was very different because we don't have that here.
What is the main meal there?
Dinner.
Dinner. Is the most important one?
It's a big meal.
Okay.
Yeah. No, lunch is usually fast. Just
Fast.
yeah.
Okay.
Just like half an hour for lunch, and that's it.
At the beginning, you were telling us about your job. What job did you get here?
I was an English teacher at a language school.
So what was your experience teaching English like in general?
I loved it. Really, my job teaching English in Colombia was honestly my favorite job that I've ever had. I loved it. I had wonderful coworkers, wonderful students, a great boss. It was just a very good experience for me.
Okay, that's great. Okay, and talking about the English level, yeah, after that experience you had, in your opinion, what's the Colombians' level of English everywhere, not just teaching?
Okay. Well, okay, not just teaching. I would say in general, in Bucaramanga, I did not meet that many other people that spoke English when I was out and about in the street or at restaurants and things like that. But among my students and people who were learning English, I found that their English was very good, that they were very, very motivated to learn and had a good level of English.
Okay. So mainly the groups that you had were, they had a good level, but in general, everyday life is not that good, right?
I just found in general, in Bucaramanga at least, it didn't seem like I met that many other people who spoke English. In some other cities, like when I was in Bogotá, I met a lot of people who spoke English, or like we did a little vacation to Cartagena and there were a lot of people there that spoke English. I think because it's more touristy there.
Yeah.
But
All right.
depends from place to place, I think.
Yeah. Oh, and now talking more about the teaching experience or languages teaching. What's your perception on languages teaching in Colombia? In your place, the place where you worked, and what you observe in schools?
Well, I worked in an immersion school, so I really like that because I think that's a very good way to learn another language, is to be totally immersed in it. But I did notice in Bucaramanga, there were many, many language schools. So it seemed that people had a lot of different options for the method that they wanted to use to learn English. And I thought that was good. You know, different people learn better in different ways. So it seemed they had a lot of choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, we have a lot of choices in terms of institutes, language institutes.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's really hard for people to receive good education in languages at schools, in formal programs when they are at high school or those places. Is different. It's completely different. Well, talking about languages, you were learning Spanish here. Tell us about it.
It was challenging. That was surprising to me. To be honest, I thought, you know, living in a country where everyone speaks Spanish, it would just be easy. But what I discovered was you still have to be very active about learning. You know, like once I mastered, you know, ordering food in a restaurant and checking out at the grocery store and things like that, then I found I really had to be active about finding people to have conversations with and advancing beyond a certain level. So that part was challenging.
So do you think that coming here was a key aspect, definitely a key aspect to improve your Spanish?
Yes, absolutely. I think being there and being able to all the time listen to people speaking Spanish was very helpful, and hearing Spanish used in a natural way. Like, I learned a lot of things and heard a lot of expressions that maybe I had never heard before when reading a textbook or, you know, practicing an app. So that part is really helpful, to be able to hear how the language is really used in everyday life.
Any anecdote you had here that you want to highlight, positive or negative?
Well, the one story that comes to my mind that's kind of a funny, good memory for me is, let's see, one time, one of my students was an English teacher at one of the universities there. And she asked if my husband and I would come to talk to her class to practice in English. So of course I said, okay, we would love to do that. Well, I thought it would just be maybe 20 students, something like that, you know? And we went to the university the day we were supposed to do this, and it was like, I don't know, maybe 75 students in this huge auditorium, and there were balloons, like a welcome sign, there was food and drinks, and we got in there and she said, wait, the president of the university is coming to meet you. And we were just so shocked, but it was like so nice. It was the nicest welcome, but it was just so unexpected, because I thought it was going to be a very small, you know, practice, and it was this big, like, welcome.
Oh my gosh. To finish, in 1 or 2 words, how would you describe your experience here?
Fantastic.
Oh,
Fantastic experience.
Okay, that's great to know. Eli, muchas gracias por tu tiempo y disposición. Lo aprecio mucho.
Gracias por la invitación.
That's all for today. I hope you have found lots of interesting cultural aspects as I did. See you in a new video. Bye bye.